Hey there, my friend. Let me ask you something right off the bat. When was the last time you heard someone say the Cowboys finally have a problem and smiled about it? Because today, we're not talking about drama in the locker room, missed tackles, or failed playoff runs. Nope. The Dallas Cowboys have a new kind of problem. And for once, it's the kind every team in the NFL wishes they had. It's what we call a good problem. And that good problem goes by the name of George Pickens. Now before you jump the gun, this isn't just about one guy. Sure, George Pickens is a big-time talent, but what his arrival has done is shine a light on something even bigger: depth. For the first time in years, Dak Prescott and the Dallas offense are looking around the field and seeing weapons everywhere. Remember back in the 90s when Troy Aikman had to figure out whether to feed Emmett, go deep to Michael Irvin, or hit Novacek down the seam? That was a golden era of good problems. And guess what? We're starting to feel a bit of that again. George Pickens on one side, CeeDee Lamb on the other, Jalen Tolbert sliding into his natural WR3 role, Jake Ferguson working the middle. Then you've got Jaden Blue, a burner with legit 4.28 speed, and don't forget about Cavante Turpin, possibly the fastest man in the league. There are scenarios where all 6 of these guys are on the field at the same time. So here's the real question. With this kind of firepower, how does Dak distribute the ball? And how does Brian Schottenheimer design a scheme that lets each one of these guys thrive? That, my friend, is a great kind of stress to have. Let me ask you this. If you're the defensive coordinator lining up against this Cowboys offense, who do you double team? Who do you leave in single coverage? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Who do you think benefits the most from George Pickens joining the Cowboys? Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, or Jalen Tolbert? Vote below, and let's keep this conversation rolling. All right, so now that we've established the Cowboys are sitting on a gold mine of talent at wide receiver, let's break down what George Pickens specifically brings to the table and how his presence could totally unlock the next level for 2 key names: CeeDee Lamb and Jalen Tolbert. Let's start with CeeDee. We all know he's been the guy, the go-to, the safety valve, the playmaker, the double-covered decoy. And he's been doing it without a legit WR2 on the other side. That means defenses have been keying in on him, sometimes bracketing him with 2 defenders and forcing Dak to either force it to CeeDee anyway or look elsewhere and hope someone steps up. Enter George Pickens. Pickens is that rare mix of size, athleticism, and edge. He wins contested catches, can stretch the field, and plays with a level of confidence that demands respect. So now, defensive coordinators have to pick their poison. If you double CeeDee, you leave Pickens one-on-one. If you shade coverage toward Pickens, CeeDee starts cooking underneath and in space. And that brings us to Jalen Tolbert. Tolbert's breakout is coming, and Pickens might be the final ingredient that helps him get there. Last season, Tolbert started to show flashes, crisp routes, more confidence, better chemistry with Dak. But with Pickens taking pressure off the boundary, Tolbert is free to roam as a WR3, lining up in the slot, working mismatches against nickel corners, and becoming a nightmare on 3rd downs. It's like this. CeeDee is your Ferrari, Pickens is your muscle truck, and Tolbert, he's the motorcycle weaving through traffic, sneaky fast and ready to hit you for 15 yards before you even see him coming. So let me ask you something. If you're Dak Prescott, where are you going first on 3rd and 7? Poll time. Who do you think will see a bigger statistical jump this season thanks to George Pickens, CeeDee Lamb, or Jalen Tolbert? Drop your vote and let me know your reasoning in the comments. This WR room is starting to look scary good. And in Chapter 3, we'll talk about the guy quietly making all of this possible. The one who's not even on the field. All right, now let's talk about the one man who makes all of this wide receiver talk actually matter: Dak Prescott. Here's the truth. You can have George Pickens, CeeDee Lamb, Jalen Tolbert, and even throw in a Hall of Famer from the past. But none of it works without a quarterback who can process fast, stay calm under pressure, and deliver the football on time and in rhythm. And say what you want about Dak. He's that guy when he's in sync and surrounded by weapons that complement his skill set. Let's be real for a second. When has Dak ever had a true vertical WR2 that scared defenses deep and forced safeties to stay honest? Think about it. Amari Cooper was great, but he was more of a technician. Michael Gallup used to be that deep threat, but since the injury, he hasn't been the same. That's where George Pickens changes everything. Pickens gives Dak something he's rarely had. A big-bodied, aggressive receiver who can go get the ball even when it's not perfectly placed. That matters. Dak's not Patrick Mahomes. He's not going to run around and throw off platform lasers all game long. He's a rhythm passer who thrives when the play design gives him clean reads and the receivers win their matchups. Pickens expands the margin for error. He gives Dak a chance to trust the throw again, especially on those 50-50 balls. And when defenses shift to cover Pickens or try to disguise coverages, that's when Dak does his best work, reading the field, finding the soft spot, and punishing you for giving him options. And with ceedee and Tolbert also in the mix, Dak doesn't have to force anything anymore. He can play patient, smart football and still put up top-tier numbers. So here's my question for you. Do you think this version of the Cowboys offense, with Pickens in the mix, sets Dak up for his best season yet? Let me know in the comments. Up next, in Chapter 4, we'll dive into the why the Steelers might even consider moving Pickens in the first place, and what Dallas would need to give up to make it happen. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Why in the world would the Steelers trade a guy like George Pickens? He's young, he's explosive, and he's arguably their most talented wide receiver. So why even entertain the idea? Well, let's pull back the curtain a bit. The truth is, the Steelers are going through a shift in identity. New offensive coordinator. New quarterback in Russell Wilson, and maybe even some reps coming for Justin Fields. That's a huge transition, and when you're reshaping the offense around new faces, sometimes the pieces don't all fit anymore, especially if the chemistry's not there. There have been whispers, nothing official, but strong enough to raise eyebrows. Reports say Pickens hasn't always meshed well with the coaching staff. He's an emotional player, and that fire can sometimes spill over in ways that cause friction. Think sideline outbursts, body language stuff, moments where it looks like he's checked out. Now, that doesn't mean he's a problem, but when a team is trying to hit the reset button, that kind of spotlight can make front offices rethink their long-term plans. Then there's the money angle. Pickens is still on his rookie deal, but if he continues to produce, that price tag is going way up. And let's be honest, Pittsburgh has other priorities on defense, along the O-line, and maybe even at quarterback in the long term. So if they feel they can cash in now, maybe get a second rounder or a combination of picks, they just might listen. From Dallas's perspective, this is where the window opens. If you can get a WR1 caliber talent without paying WR1 money right now, you do it, especially when your Super Bowl clock is ticking. So here's something for you to vote on. If the Cowboys could get George Pickens for a second-round pick and a future fourth, would you pull the trigger? Vote, yes or no. Next up in Chapter 5, let's break down what a trade like this could actually look like. What would it cost Dallas? And is it a gamble worth taking? Stick around. All right, so now let's get into the nitty-gritty. If the Cowboys really want to make a move for George Pickens, what's it going to cost? What does a trade like this actually look like? And would it even make sense from both sides? First, let's start with Pickens' value. He's only 23, coming off a 1,000-yard season, and he's still on a rookie contract. That's huge. A player like that doesn't come cheap. But because of the rumblings in Pittsburgh, the attitude concerns, the possible scheme fit issues, the price might not be sky high either. The most realistic scenario? A second-round pick and maybe a day 3 sweetener, like a fourth or fifth rounder in 2026. Something that gives the Steelers flexibility without killing the Cowboys' draft future. Remember, Dallas still has needs on the O-line and in the secondary, so they're not looking to blow the bank here. And if you're wondering about cap space, Pickens has a very manageable number for the next 2 seasons. That's part of what makes this so appealing. You'd be getting a WR1 caliber player for less than what you're paying Michael Gallup to not catch footballs. That's the kind of upgrade that changes the game. But now think about the offensive structure. Picture CeeDee Lamb in the slot, Pickens on the outside, and Brandon Cooks stretching the field on the opposite end. That's firepower. That's stress for any defensive coordinator. And for Dak, that's a lifeline, a clear upgrade that could finally help this team break through in the postseason. Of course, the gamble is real. You're betting Pickens will stay locked in, that he'll buy into Mike McCarthy's system, that he won't bring any locker room noise. But honestly, that's a risk worth taking when your championship window is starting to creak. So I'll ask you this to close it out. Would George Pickens make the Cowboys an instant Super Bowl contender? Drop your take in the comments. Let's see where the real fans stand. If you want Dallas to make a move like this, smash that like button and don't forget to subscribe for more Cowboys news every day. See you in the next video.